Welcome everyone. Underlying importance of competency mapping for talent management is the premises of this presentation, and we will be talking about the competency mapping and talent management thereby. So, competency based human resource initiative. What are they? Why particular this exercises that we want to go around it? Every time an human resource exercise is to be initiated, try to answer. Do we have an ambitious plan? Probably. Are we trying to grow? Yes, probably. Do we want to reduce subjectivity, or what is subjectivity is basically nothing but interpretation on the from the people's hand. When I say people, it might be employees. Does employees have different interpretation to our mission, to our vision, to our change plans? If so, we need to align it, we need to iron out the differences, need to base those things. Progressive companies would trust on competence based on people development process, based on understanding of what to do and what not to do. Help clarifies the expectation, define future development needs, more focused, hiring and people development planning as on when on basis as the thing goes around it. How do we access it? This is a question that needs to be assigned every now and then in your places. Now, what do we go around, and how do we access this HR initiative? If we have answered this question, do we have ambitious plan? Are we future oriented? Do we want to reduce subjectivity among? Are there any confusion among the peoples? Is this a progressive companies that gives trust on the competency based? Helps clarify, define future development, and that is what needs to be done around it. So tell me, going by the benefits, what are the role-based competencies for matrix for every position that comes around it? First and foremost, individual positional roles. And when I say individual positional roles, is the role that is most important, not the person or the incumbent or the applicant who's going to occupy that particular role. Present level of competencies now is the context of the individual coming around to be ascertained, and gaps needs to be filled in. Remember, we need to design the caps as on when on basis for every now and then. What is what are the gaps? Gaps are nothing but probably trying to tell it out, tell out what has been practiced and what is actually happening. Now there is something called training need identification, or TNI. TNI has to be built, designed based upon the gap that we have identified. The training need identification is very important. Probably the high potential employees for the future roles can be identified out here. Talent acquisition criteria would be fixed and would pay for the way of objective based. So what exactly is competency? If we made to discuss, remember the key success factors for any job is to ask. That is about your knowledge, skills, abilities, attitude, attributes, what you want to go around it. It is your ask, always talking about ask, attitude, skill, knowledge, behavior, attributes, the way you want to go around it. So attitude is always about probing on the past experiences. Past experiences may vary and the impression can be understood, cannot be assessed in an interview probably, but can be accessed through a psychometric tool as the case might be, to understand the attitude part of it. Now, what is the skills that comes around it? Skills is all about past experiences, can be tested empirically, if you may say so, can be assessed. Knowledge, yes, your education record, your qualification record, your past experiences, that can be seen, can be accessed. Remember, both attitude, skills, knowledge can be accessed. Some through psychometric tool, can be assessed through an individual experiences, and knowledge can be seen vertically, certified, and so on and so forth. So everything can be accessed all together. Now, as once assessment is done, we need to review, finalize, and accept the company-wide policies thereby. So competencies might be communication, leadership, strategic thinking, creativity, teamwork, sense of ownership, customer orientation, consumer orientation, mandatory negotiable competency as the case might be, micro planning, execution, differentiation, quality orientation as we are talking around. Then comes the leadership, decisiveness, makes timely decisions, take risk using data, facts, and futuristic outlook. Change management is understand what change requires, work with stakeholders to influence change proactively. Now, this is what leadership would be looking into it. A person who can take decisions, come what may, come what the situation is all about, perhaps in the trying times, perhaps in the face of unrest, probably can keep the cool and can take a positive decision. Change management when things are in doldrums, you need to understand the change is required, and not only to understand change is required, but ensure that the team members follows the instruction and embrace the change thereby. Creativity is all about innovation, thinking out of the box, veering away from the run of the mill solution at all, and probably coming up with a non-traditional solution. Strategic thinking is thinking the strategic leadership that we goes around it shows ability to look at the big picture, draw global or local trends, build scenarios, put together small pictures to make big pictures available. Sense of ownership is to be initiative. Delivering result with commitment and perseverance, sharing information, building long-lasting, transparent relation, doing the job with attitude, taking appropriate risk, providing candid observations, influencing stakeholders, help share the company's culture as the case might be, as what else can be done around here, what to go around, how to go around. Define observable behaviors, definitions, finalize behavioral dictionary. Now, how do we go around this is micro planning, execution, process orientation, and detailing. Translating organizational visions to action, building knowledge base, creating knowledge platforms, formulating strategies, designing actions, plan them, differentiation, competitive advantages, contribution to the success of behavior by serving value chain, interpreting socio-economic context, articulating the value proposition, leveraging business drivers as the case might be. What are we looking out here? We are trying to find out behavioral definitions in terms of negotiable or mandatory competencies which are required. So yes, micro planning and execution. Yes, differentiation. Yes, quality orientation is what we look forward to it. Now we'll talk about the company as a whole. Now, executive task under supervision. This can be frontline sales, absolutely frontline sales. Executing tasks independently. It is your functional orientations where you are the master of all. You will be taking the responsibility. That's your area. It can be finance. It can be marketing. It can be operation. It can be production. It can be inventory. Now these are functional areas. It can be location A, location B, location C, and so on and so forth. Then comes the executive leaders is all about regional responsibility. So now it is not only location A, but complete gamut of activities for that thing, or it cannot be only accounts or finance but also for all the location A, B, and C. So that's what executive leaders are all about it. Sectional or locational heads, the divisional responsibilities, absolutely for the fundamental success of that particular division. Now these are your leadership roles that needs to be adhered to. Then we have the HOD, or the head of the department, or the management team. It's the business responsibility that comes around it, as to be the key drivers of the businesses that comes around it. So creative role matrices, if you have, I'm just giving an inclinations about what are the creative role matrices. You can have a role that needs to be defined out here. Absolutely, we can plan it out. We can have the functions, the so many number of functions that can comes around it, as the case might be. Then we have the equally competent role if required. These are the things that needs to be taken care of. Then there is something called the proficiency level. If you look into it, it is all about bias, basic, intermediate, expert, or advanced, and superior level, if I may say so. BIAS: basic, intermediate, advanced, and superior level. So basic awareness, what are those important things, what are those component things that you should be aware of, the intermediate things, the advanced level, and probably at the superior level, if maybe said so. And that, I'm just giving an example of role competency matrices per se. To talking about the identifying critical requirement and how do we go around it. So detail how critical the competencies are all about it. Critical is an absolute must. You just cannot ignore it. It is mandatory, come what may. Important, you need to have it, but probably the lack of it will not affect the job, or will not be affecting the job in a major fashion. It cannot be deterred. Probably you need to pick up certain things and you should be adequately trained to do around it. Preferred. Now, these are the qualities that is nice to have. the one that needs an extra value, but the absence of which doesn't impact the job on the successful accomplishment. It doesn't, but you need to have certain qualities. So we have those critical competencies which are critical, important, and preferred. I'll talk about the level of competencies, how much of a specific competency. The basic awareness is the basic understanding of what needs to be done, how it is to be done. The competencies are understood by the book. Contributory or intermediate level competencies are understanding the macro level to pass on how to do it. Absolutely very clear about the job is to be done, job is there, and how do you go accomplish the job is to be understood. Then we have the advanced level or expert coach who knows exactly every detail level of the job. Why the job, how does it helps, and what to do, when to do. Competence to understand, teach, criticize, and then we have the superior level of the leading edge things. Not only they have the full knowledge of the job, but they know the micro details about it. They can contribute, they can analyze, they can prefer, they can manipulate, innovate, and ensure that the job has been done because their competence to understand, teach, criticize are too. They can even write books upon it. So basically, I'm trying to giving you a competency mapping matrix as the case might be, and this is just a number that goes around it. Remember the previous matrix that I've shown it to you. I'm just showing it out here for sales representative functions being sales, equivalent competencies frontline. If you look into it, what are the basic awareness levels, which is differentiation, computer skills, software, micro planning, and something. Now, this is what we are trying to do around it. The proficiency levels would be a retail preferred thing, and this is just a sample that I've tried to give it to you so that everybody can understand as on when on basis. Then we have the identifying functional skills required for the roles. Let's say the sales and responsibilities, the distribution. Business responsibility will give me business plan, relationship management, benchmarking, supply chain management, team management, new business development. On the other hand, the division responsibility is all about sales planning, not business plan. Sales planning, relationship management, supply chain management, customer satisfaction, marketing supports, team management, policy, process compliance, and trademark protection. Region responsibilities is sales target, expanding distribution, collection, inventory monitoring, resource management. Area responsibility is selling skill, distribution, expansion. Are we talking about RPS, and the software management, what we are looking into it, the financial commitment, the product knowledge, the market knowledge, the trade relation. Similarly, for frontline, a host of activities which are basically basic into nature. So we have a leaders, we have a manager, we have an execution, we have coordination. These are the functional levels for a team of marketing itself. Nothing here. The leaders would be looking and monitoring the data, coming up with marketing strategy, brand management, where the managerial would be managing those data and supplying the data, and probably not only data mining but data pruning is also to be done. Profit monitoring skills has to be there, marketing plan has to be in place, tracking competition, execution is all about PC skill, it's profit monitoring, consumer tracking, advertising and media. We're talking about coordination as PC skills as the case might be, consumer tracking, competition tracking, and how do we go around it. Global HR trends is financial acumen, labor law notes, know-hows, knowledge of the HR concepts and processes, business acumen, the HR versions, policies and procedures, and so on and so forth. Then we have the managerial skill, the executive skill, and the coordination skills might be quite basic around it. So let us define the step number 6 as far as functional roles are concerned. The SR role, the sales representative roles. What are we looking out here? We are looking at selling skills, distribution expansion, the role of personal selling, the management, the financial commitment, and definitions thereof, step of the sales, enhance the product coverage, availability, visibility, functionality, as the case might be. This is what we are looking forward to it, right? And that is what we should be going forward to. Now comes the incumbent who is actually occupying that position as the role model or the role holder for it, in display with the individual competencies for the managers, for the supervisor, for the executive, which will tell us the 10 dimensions of personalities, effectively, which are introversions or extroversions, anxiety or relaxation, cool, comfortable, assertion, authoritative, and questioning, doubting, receptivity, probably keeping a distance, aloof, rigidity, fixed, improvisation, flexible, adaptable. Intellectual dynamism is what about individual contributions, whereas intellectual conformism, going by the rule of the book, nothing else. There are no flares around here. Combativeness is inclusive in nature. Conciliation, being a part with the nature, with the part of the system. Realizations, just the awareness about it. Facilitation, ensuring that your things goes, your ideas being sold through. Belonging, sense of loyalty. Independence, being superfluous. Power, it's all about conformity, all about uh, power and authority. But perfection is all about the job that needs to be done. So I'm just giving you 10 dimensions of personality which is being reflected, depicted, and probably exemplified in the nature, which is availably seen. We come to the step number 9, is all about functional skills with your superior, with your head of the department, as the case might be. So how do you go it? By experiences would be empirically done by the superior. It's a 360-degree appraisal that comes around it. Step number 10 is matching the role holder versus the role based competencies, as the case might be. And that is what belongs out here. We are talking about legends. We are talking about interpersonal skills. On the scale of 10, on the scale of 6, the Likert scale, what is your rate of satisfaction? You will have to be assertive. You have to be resistant to stress, ability to learn, ability to listen, to communicate, and so on and so forth. Match the role holder, role based competencies, as the case might be, the work rate satisfaction that comes around it. Match the role holder versus role based competencies. Again, it's your motivation, it's a rate of satisfaction that can be on a long term basis, medium term basis, or a short term basis. Now, how does it goes around it in the long term basis? What is your importance in the in terms of a short term basis? Cooperation, how does it goes around? What is your influences that comes around here? You need to go around it. Now is the time where you are doing your competency mapping with your talent acquisition. Every now and then fixing a norm of selection, as you, where are you sourcing your candidates from, as a rule. Changing the interview evaluation sheet, being dynamic to it, not giving the chance for the applicant to predict or probably score more just because going by the previous history. Competency based preliminary interview is what is the thing that needs to be deserted for administrative echo and match with the competency matrix, as in what is required in your firm and what is the person bringing onto the table. If there is a perfect match, why not go for it? Other post selection procedures would be administered, been done by the human resources. Step number 11 is an action plan. Performance management system is the talent management administered at the time of appraisal, as the case might be. Identify high potential future role leaders, link it with promotion policies, as the case might be. Succession planning as and when on basis. What are we looking into it? Career planning. How do we go about underutilization, as the case out here? Action plan is learning management system, LMS, that comes around with the talent development team, as the case might be. Input for your universities, for the university, as to what needs to be done. Gap identification, the TNI, the training need assessment, what needs to be done, the training need initiative that needs to be taking place every now and then. The identification needs to be done for individual level. Employee feedback, one of the most important things that is applicable is to give pertinent feedback as on when on required. It need not be at the end of the annual fiscal year, it need not be at the end of every quarter, but as on when on you give the feedback, the training, the individual would be approving. What is the competency expected for the role, where they are against it? 360-degree, the superiors would be giving a feedback. With this, I come to an end of the session for your understanding. Thank you for watching this video till the very end.